All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Let's talk a little bit about our conclusions that we came to after watching the rewatch of the Niners-Packers film. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And this video is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does is automatically entered to win a free signed Fred Warner red Niner jersey. We will announce the winner in just days from now at the end of the month of November. And thanks to Better for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right. Niners, Green Bay. Man, it was ugly. It was really ugly. And let's get to some of the conclusions that we took away from watching this thing. Okay, one. A lot of people have been very critical of Brandon Allen. I thought he played fine. You know, all things considered, he hasn't played in a long time. He made some really good throws. He also threw an interception right to Quay Walker in the first half, and Walker dropped it. So that would have been another interception. And Allen definitely needs to keep two hands on the ball in traffic. You know, he lost some field awareness when he kind of fumbled it and caught it again, took a sack, and it just, then the ball came out, and, he just needs to take better care of the football in traffic. And that's just bottom line. Also, Shanahan says he's going to start Allen in Buffalo against the Bills on Sunday night if Purdy can't go. I think that's the right call. I know a lot of people want to see Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs is 3-11 in his career. So it's not like, it's some amazing, he's an amazing quarterback. So that was the first conclusion. That Brandon Allen was he good? No. Was he great? No. But I mean, he was fine. He was fine. He was as good as you could expect, I think, under the circumstances. Conclusion number 2. Kyle Shanahan needs to start using J.P. Mason and Isaac Guerendo, period. He's got to use Mason more, and he's got to use Guerendo, period. He doesn't use Guerendo. CMC has struggled to run outside. If you look at Christian running outside the tackles in this last game, he had 7 rush attempts for 11 yards. The Niners' EPA per rush was 10th without Christian. It's 20th with him. Use Guerendo. He's a game breaker. Use Mason. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. 5 yards a carry. It's a lot. Christian's going for 3 a carry. Mason's going for 5 a carry. Guerendo's going for 6 a carry. Play more Mason and Guerendo. Play them together if you got to play them together. But don't just go to Christian and forget about those 2 young backs. That's clearly what's happened here. Conclusion number 3, 49ers offensive line really struggled to protect Brandon Allen and to open run lanes for CMC, who averaged 2.8 yards per carry, especially between the tackles. Jalen Moore had the Niners offensive line best PFF grade. He actually played well. Dom Pooney allowed 4 pressures. He had 3 penalties, easily his worst game. Jake Brendel allowed 1 pressure. He had 2 penalties. Aaron Banks, I was watching on the film, he just got beat in the second half by Carl Brooks on a couple of bull rushes. Brooks is really underrated. He might be a backup on that Green Bay line. He's a good player, and he gave Banks all he wanted and then some. Conclusion number 4 is that Deebo Samuel is lost it as far as his ability to run. He had a rough game. He had 2 huge drops. He clearly has lost a step. In the last 3 weeks since the bye week, he's got 10 catches, no touchdowns, and 13 rushing yards. He's just not doing it. He doesn't make big plays. He doesn't turn the corner. He can't get to the edge. His hands are inconsistent. His route running's not great. I mean, Dieter went a little far saying strip him of his captaincy because he didn't talk to the media. I don't care who he talks to. I don't care if he talks to me. I don't care if he talks to Branch. I don't care if he talks to Cone. I don't care if he talks to Inman. I don't care if he doesn't talk at all. He doesn't have anything really to say that's all that interesting anyway, and he's not playing all that well. So he's not that interesting. So I don't care that he didn't talk, and I wouldn't strip him of his captaincy, but I also wouldn't run him anymore, and I would probably use him when you can get him going. I mean, he's lost all quickness. He's okay straight line speed. He just doesn't have any quickness. He can't quickly get to the edge. He's got more gather speed than quick speed. So you got to figure out how do you want to utilize Deebo. But and I wouldn't strip his captaincy, but I would tell him, hey man, hey, you wanna hold other guys accountable, then you got to be there and be accountable. It's as simple as that. You want to hold Jake Moody accountable, you want to hold Tabor Pepper accountable, then you got to hold yourself accountable. And being accountable means you show up at the press conference, especially when you lose, especially when you don't play well. Man, it's surprising that he's having a hard time learning that lesson. But that's been the case so far. Conclusion number 5: the Niner defensive tackles are not very good. Jordan Elliott struggles. Malik Collins had a good PFF grade. They couldn't stop Josh Jacobs between the tackles. Josh Jacobs running between the tackles got every yard he wanted to. He had 18 carries for 76 yards, 4.2 a carry, 2 touchdowns. He always just looked in totally comfortable. So the Niner defensive tackles did not make an impact on this game. Conclusion number 6: Jordan Love had way too much time to throw in this game. Leonard Floyd was the only guy really playing up front. He had 5 pressures, 26.4% pressure rate, which is really good. Best of the season for Leonard Floyd, and he had 2 sacks. So credit Leonard Floyd, man. Money was on the table. There was no Bosa. He had to step up. He stepped up. So I love that about Leonard Floyd. Conclusion number 7: Devondre Campbell is not Dre Greenlaw, and he's not even a reasonable facsimile of Greenlaw. Have you noticed that since the Niners took Greenlaw off the field because of the injury and have gone to Campbell, that they can't tackle anymore? They missed 19 tackles, 10 in the first quarter, 15 in the first half. Shanahan's like, we counted 12. Whatever. You missed a shit ton of tackles. Fred Warner himself missed 4. Campbell had a missed tackle. Campbell had a 46.2 PFF defensive grade, 3rd worst on the team. The Campbell trade, Greenlaw for Campbell, has not worked out. Conclusion number 8: the young 49er defensive backs, Jair Brown, Renardo Green, Malik Mustapha, I thought all had really strong moments in this game. Now, Brown dropped a pick. Green dropped a pick on the deflection. Mustapha, though, was a beast. 9 tackles, a couple of knockout hits, a tackle for a loss. I love Malik Mustapha, man. He is awesome. And Renardo Green and Jair Brown, these are 3 good young DBs. I think these guys are going to be around for a while. I like what I see. Was it great? No. But you know what? Christian Watson was shut out, and none of those receivers really dominated. 49ers lost the game, but the young DBs, I thought, showed well for themselves. Conclusion number 9: more special team screw-ups. This time an Eric Saubert holding call negated a Deebo Samuel 87-yard third-quarter kickoff return. Can't happen, and it's happened all year. So at the end of the year, they're going to have to replace Schneider. They're going to have to go in a different direction on special teams. It could be part of bigger decisions, but that's a certainty. I mean, you gotta make a change. Too much failure, a wide array of different failures. You just got to make a change. And then, takeaway or conclusion number 10 is if you lose -3 in turnovers, if you're -3 in turnovers, you're going to lose. I mean, and I said it in the pregame. I said if the Niners are -1 or 2 in turnovers, they're going to wind up. They're going to lose like 38-3. They have to win the turnover battle. Well, they lost it, and they were -3 in turnovers and lost 38-10. So I was close. Just simple as that. When you turn it over in the NFL, you lose. When you get turnovers in the NFL, you win. There are exceptions, but not very many. And the 11th conclusion I would say is the Niners should have had a number 1 at the top of their list of things to do in this game was to dominate the time of possession. And instead, they allowed Green Bay to win the time of possession battle by nearly 14 minutes. Huge failure there. The only way the 49ers are going to win games is if they can protect their defensive line and their defense overall, which is relatively thin. And they either don't get it or they can't do it. But to lose the time of possession battle by nearly 14 minutes is just completely and utterly unacceptable. Unacceptable. So there you go. Those were my conclusions from the game. They couldn't stop Josh Jacobs. They couldn't tackle. The other conclusion is you got to use George Kittle more in the passing game. They targeted him 6 times. They threw him 6 balls. He caught all 6 for 82 yards and a touchdown. How would he have done if you threw him 12? Would he have caught all 12? You got to figure out a way to use George Kittle more, especially with no Ayuk, especially with Deebo being a shadow of himself, especially with CMC not ramping up yet. George has got to touch the ball at least 10 times a game. Come on. 6 targets for one of your best weapons. That was really bad. That was really bad. So overall, and the other thing I would say is, and I love the guy. He's a great guy. Ricky Pearsall looks really natural as a return guy, but he is getting nothing done as a receiver. He had 2 targets last week, no catches. This week, no targets. He's either not separating, not getting open, not running good routes, but I mean, nothing, no production the last 2 weeks for a guy who was your first round draft choice. So I live in the land of reality. So in the reality land, he's a great story, but he's a bust until he shows that he ain't. And thus far he is. So unfortunate, but that's the way it shakes out in the real world. You got to do stuff. You don't get respect. You don't get, anything. You got to fight and claw for everything, including respect. And he's not producing. So until he produces, he's a bust. Which means that the 49ers have had 10 number 1 picks under this regime, and 8 of them have been busts. The only guys so far that aren't busts have been Nick Bosa and Brandon Ayuk. Everybody else has been a bust. And if you want to know what's the number 1 reason that the Niners are where they're at right now, that's it right there. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Better for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.